The crisis in Syria has taken a devastating toll on education, leaving over 7,000 schools damaged or destroyed and millions of children out of school. Many of these children are the most vulnerable, including those displaced by the insecurity. The enormous scale of the educational crisis in Syria and other places is threatening the future of an entire generation of children. SAT7's My School has made the impossible possible: free supplemental education for all Arabic speakers. My guest is SAT7 Academy brand manager Juliana Sfeir to explain. Welcome. This is the Unconventional Ministry podcast, where the conversation is about fresh ideas in ministry, innovative approaches, and collaborative efforts. I'm your host, Dennis Weens, Vice President for Ministry Partnerships at SAT7 USA. My guest today is Juliana Sfeir in Beirut, Lebanon with SAT7 Academy. Juliana, you're making the impossible possible, so welcome to the Unconventional Ministry podcast.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for having me.
Juliana, you have a degree in mass communication and media studies from Oxford Center for Missions and also Leeds University. And you also are a course instructor at the Lebanese American University, and you are SAT7's Academy brand manager. So there's a lot to talk about here. Let's start about your education. You were just explaining a little bit how your mass communication degree is really helping you now in working, explaining, and giving vision and direction to SAT7 Academy brand.
Yes, I have a master's degree in communication studies from the Oxford Center for Mission Studies and Leeds University. I was telling you that this has, yes, of course, it's communication. I did, my end project was docudrama, and it had a lot of, it was a Christian master's whereby we delved a lot into ethics and how we use ethics into developing Christian media that can be appealing and attractive to the world, yet also hold substantial components of salt and light as well. You know, this is not easy. I mean, it's not easy to develop something that is very subtle, yet very extremely Christian, resting on, the gospel, pillars of the gospel. And this is why they have a master's there.
Very interesting. And you and I are both with SAT7. It's a Middle East broadcast media ministry. But your title is SAT7 Academy brand manager. So our listeners are probably curious, what is SAT7 Academy? And then we'll follow that up with, what does a brand manager do? So just give us a brief overview of what is SAT7 Academy.
Well, SAT7 Academy is a brand. It was originally a channel. We inspire impactfully lifelong learning across the Arabic-speaking world. And we help build better communities and contribute to the good of society and culture. Our mission is to provide Arabic-speaking viewers from all parts of society with complementary educational opportunities. By providing this support, we aim to equip the next generation with the tools they need to build a better society, with one marked by tolerance, creative free thought, and help the teachers and parents to develop more effective child-centric approach to learning. You know, we spend time and effort understanding what is unique about the biblical and spiritual position, being an educational brand, and include it. We actually strive and work very hard to include it as part of our educational and development project design. As I mentioned before, it's not an easy task, but we enjoy doing this so that we can reach to the maximum number of people in audience in the Middle East and North Africa.
And this SAT7 Academy really started a couple of years ago with educational crisis in places like Syria, Iraq. So many children and youth were out of education. So take us back to the beginning when SAT7 Academy started. It was really to fulfill a need of education with supplemental education for these children who didn't have education. And United Nations even called that group a lost generation. Talk to us a little bit about the beginning.
Yes, back where the so-called Arab Spring started, and then you had the war in Syria, and a lot of refugees flocking to Lebanon. And naturally, it started with the refugee kids and the Syrian kids and the Iraqi kids. They were left behind because of the wars in their country, and eventually it developed into financial difficulties. Also, eventually, you had a lot of low quality education, basically lost the simple right of getting an education. This is why I think they call them a lost generation. So we are at risk of running into ignorance, developing ignorance, being prone to poverty, being subject to recruitment into extremist groups. Enabled eventually Sat7 to express. We went ahead and expressed our holistic mission by making education a way to the light, as a key priority in our programming, improve the well-being of marginalized groups such as women, children, illiterate, poor, disabled even, and even, of course, the refugees, disabled among the refugees also, irrespective of their religion and race and ethnicity and nationality. So basically, we went ahead and developed this backbone program called My School that was on Sat7 Kids and still is on Sat7 Kids. Now, today, we are in our fifth season. We are almost done producing our fifth season. We wanted to put the emphasis on rote learning and the use of outdated pedagogical methods, even for those who have access to education. And now, with COVID, a lot of kids who are not refugees, who are at home, they were without education. They were always on iPads and whatever have you, wasting their time. So this was an amazing time for us to develop more online and reach out to young people. I have stories, we have kids in Iraq. I'm sure you would love this story. This kid in Iraq who left Iraq, came to Lebanon, and was deprived of schooling for, like, she's 9 today. She was deprived of 2 years of schooling. And eventually, when the time came 2 years later and they were able to, she was on a waiting list in a, government school. They accepted her 2 years later, and when they had just tested her to see what level she would be good to join in the school, and they found out that she's really advanced. And the mother was she was amazed. She was like, well, why? What happened? And then the kid said, well, Mom, I was watching my school. I was watching Sat7. I was watching Sat7 Kids and my school program. So there you go. 2 years that were supposedly supposed to be lost. Another person, from the last generation. We were able thankfully, we praise the Lord, we were able to do something, at least for this little girl. And I'm sure for a lot of people who did not reach out to us.
She really represents a whole generation of children who Sat7 has provided this valuable resource of education. And you start with, like, called here pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. So you keep building year to year, but you start with really at the beginning where they're learning the basics of what they would learn in a kindergarten.
Yes, Dennis, and we're talking about over 13 million children who are out of the Arab Spring, so to speak, young refugees, and today with the Lebanese crisis, a lot of kids cannot even go to school. They cannot afford school, let alone proper schooling. And the refugees are left out. With all the crisis that we are going through. So this is how we are reaching out to refugees now and say you can still have an education with people on the ground with the refugee camps. And I have another story to tell you as well. There is we meet refugee kids every time we go to see how they're doing, if they understand my school, what they're learning. Because we also give them Bible and songs. So here they have a hymn they sing to, and they draw and they do coloring, and then they learn math, and then they learn English, and then they learn Arabic, and so it's very engaging. It's fun. They take also courses in hygiene. It's really holistic. It's a 360 degree into helping these children to grow. And also, I will tell you more later about the parents as well. But just to come back to my story, I know you like stories.
Yes.
Big fan. So there's this girl, who was very aggressive. I mean, these kids, some of them have been through a lot, being born in a tent, so they are born, aggressive. Someone, this little kid, she was very aggressive until she was accepted in this school, the partner school we work with. It's informal schooling in the afternoon next to a refugee camp with Heart for Lebanon. Actually, we work with them. It's called Hope Schooling. So she was very difficult to manage at first, and then when the English teacher started introducing letters and alphabets, so Maha recognized M for Maha, and I honestly, it's like I can never stop telling you how happy she was, and she was carrying the letter M, and it was M from now on, and drawing M and coloring M and wanting to know more about the A next to the M, and so, and this has definitely impacted her, the way she behaved, how it completely shifted everything about this girl. I mean, it's shifting a whole person. And also, these kids are being really forced into later on, if they don't get an education, either they are forced into exploitation, labor, child labor, marriage, early marriage also, or maybe assault. I mean, some of these girls are raped. Education, knowledge is the basic thing you could give them so that they can know what's beyond this tent, what's beyond this supposed life. They were born. These kids now are born in tents. Some of them are lucky enough to have joined the community, and we are working on also social cohesion to help the community accept them and integrate in the community. There's a lot to be done. So, I mean, I'm just giving you just a couple of things, hints, like just heads up of what my school is doing. I will not even start talking about, the young people, the young children who can be recruited as workers and fighters in armed groups. And I'm sure you know this. So education is a huge tool. And what if us as Christians, we give it with the intentional, ethical and biblical grounds also, So this makes a huge difference there.
I mentioned in the beginning that you are making the impossible possible, and you think of education and how impossible it looked even to countries and to United Nations, and here you've solved a problem, and the church, capital C, in the Middle East has solved this problem. As you think about academy, we think right away of education, and you've explained it very well, but Sat7 Academy brand does more than just education. I know you're helping families, you're helping mothers. There's other things I think that you are doing, right?
Absolutely. First of all, we believe in human dignity, and we believe in equality in front of God, before God. So part of the Sat7 vision is to serve the community and contribute to the good of society and culture. This is the main, it's not the academy vision and mission, it's the Sat7 vision and mission. So academy is doing this as a key part of Sat7's holistic approach to ensure children not only to find their spiritual path, grow in their faith, demonstrate it in their daily life, make a difference in their community, and we even extend it to the parents, the teachers, even. We have programs that coach the teachers in new pedagogical approaches like Montessori, in the future will be, including Reggio also. All of these, pedagogical philosophies to allow the child to express themselves, but also to allow the mother to be in this process of educating her child. I mean, we offer a lot of coaching for parents, parents as a couple, parents as a family and parents individual, how to raise your child. Because, Dennis, unfortunately, in our area of the world, we have a lot of violence. You have stories of women being beaten by and assaulted by religious men. Women have no rights. They have no persona. They are not regarded in our societies. And as a result, when they come to raise their kids, all they know what to do is beat them. And it's not just enough to give them the gospel. Yes, we want to give them the gospel. The gospel is enough. But we want to also tell them, the gospel, this is what the gospel tells you, how to love your kid. This is how God loves you. He died for you. This is how you raise your child. You don't beat them. You love them. You are ready to do anything for them. So, of course, throughout the process, we have programs like the coach. We have programs like called Follow Up for the teachers, coach for the my keys to raising my child. So we show the parents how practically how this, for instance, through a practical example, how this can work and how this can damage your child, and why you should do this and not do another things, and why. I mean, we invite them to go into their own past and see where this has led you. Where is it coming from? Where do you need healing? These people also need healing. We show the Lord's mercy in every way.
This is very good. And I read reports where mothers who bring their kids to, for example, a social center or church or someplace where they can watch my school, mothers who as girls weren't allowed education now are learning to read and write and learning math. I think while my school was focused on a generation of youth and children, the mothers and their generation have been impacted by the work of Sat7 Academy. Where can people read more about your stories and what you're doing? On which landing page on the website? Where can people get more information on Sat7 Academy?
Yes, people can read more about Sat7 Academy on the www.sat7education.org. And they can download our platform, Sat7 Plus, if they understand some Arabic, Farsi, and Turkish, where you can find all the channels. You can find Sat7 Academy, you can find Sat7 Kids, Sat7 Arabic, everything is there, even the Farsi and the Turkish channel. And you can follow our hashtag Sat7 Academy or, at Sat7 Academy and follow all our brands. So Sat7 Academy develops programs and we put it on the Sat7 brands like women brand, youth brand, kids brand, academy brand. So whatever we develop is good to go on our main Sat7 brands. And it's true, Dennis, you just reminded me, thank you, that we have a lot of older people contacting us now, like a grandfather, mother learning English, mother helping her child, because, these mothers, they don't have the luxury of, paying for a teacher to come and teach their child if they don't understand their grade or lessons in their grade. So they access it on our either YouTube channel or our platform, even where you can see all of our Sat7 Academy and My School programs. And so and by doing this, the parents learn. And we have received stories of parents learning a language, parents learning how to explain Arabic, grammar, mathematics, and, so this is amazing. Yeah.
We think of Sat7 as being in the Middle East, but I was at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville at the Opryland Hotel, and a lot of the staff that work at that hotel are from the Middle East. A lot of them are Egyptian. And so I was at a special meeting for ministry leaders. And so maybe 50, 60 ministry leaders around tables, and we all had to introduce ourselves. So I introduced myself as Sat7, in less than a minute. And then when the people serving the meal came in, they pointed at me and says, Sat7, we all like Sat7. Our kids all grew up on Sat7, kids. And so here they were thanking me for Sat 7, and all these ministry leaders around the tables had never heard of Sat 7. So it was a great endorsement of what you're doing in Sat 7 Academy and the brand that here in the U.S. in Nashville at the special meal, the people serving the meal were thanking me for Sat 7 Kids and the brand. So it's a pretty amazing moment there. So your work not only in the Middle East, but the Arab world and Arab speakers, and I know across the United States and North America, you have a lot of followers that appreciate. And one guy serving the coffee, I gave him a Sat 7 Plus business card so he could get on the digital platform. And he took the whole stack of my cards. He says, my kids always control the remote and watch Sat 7 Kids. And so the parents can't watch what they want to watch because the kids have the remote and are watching Sat 7 Kids at streaming through IPTV. So pretty amazing stories we hear. So thank you, Juliana, for your work
Thank
in
you.
Sat 7 Academy brand. You're doing amazing work, and it contributes to Sat 7's vision and mission, which is to see a growing church across the Middle East and North Africa that's
Amen.
confident in its faith and in its witness, that's contributing to its
Amen.
culture and to its society. And you've explained it very well, so thank you.
Amen. Can I just say, I mean, you have thanked me and thanked us. I would just give the glory to the Lord who gives everything, takes everything, who empowers us to do this, who inspires us. And I want to give thanks to the Lord who inspires people to support us also, because yes, I would love that, support by prayer. Prayer is so, I mean, don't underestimate prayer. Prayer changes lives. Prayer opens opportunity, opens doors. Please, we thank you so much for praying for us, for not just for Academy, for the whole of Sat 7, for our beautiful team in the US, and we thank you also for supporting us. This is amazing. I mean, I can never stop telling you how this can be very, very positive impacting the lives of the people.
Well, thank you. And before we finish, we're hearing a lot of news for the last several years from Beirut and from Lebanon, and you're in Beirut. Tell our listeners just a little bit about what the situation is. I know you just had elections, but you're at the office. But is there electricity? Are people still standing in lines of 2 or 3 hours to get a couple liters of gas? What's the situation in Beirut now?
Thank you for asking this. Well, the situation is so much up to the dollar because now the Lebanese lira, the Lebanese pound, has lost its value by 90%. Today, $1 amounts to almost 28,000 Lebanese lira. Last week it was almost 40,000 lira, and it's fluctuating in a mad way, And this definitely impacts gas. People, yes, they queue in gas because we lost the government subsidy. So we don't subsidize. The government does not subsidize. You have to pay in dollars, and not everybody has the value, of dollars or gets paid initially in dollars. So a lot of people, yeah, everything has become extremely expensive. Bread, one day you have flour, another day you don't. So sometimes we queue, sometimes we won't. And of course, you've heard of the Beirut blast that eradicated all the leftovers of the flour that we had in the harbor and the Beirut port, and the banking system that is failing also, and all the corruption that is around us. And what can I say? No, we don't have electricity. If you are lucky enough, fortunate, blessed enough to have some money to pay for an external generator, so you pay or to buy diesel to fill your own generator so that you can, turn on your air conditioning in the summer. And now it's still things are getting, I mean, the weather is becoming hotter, or have electricity to listen to the news, or let alone just access, recharge your phone and your social media. I have Wi-Fi, and this is affecting our communication system, our Wi-Fi, our 3G, the phone lines. It's affecting a lot of stuff. We are, we have, like, if people tell you here, we have not yet hit rock bottom. But I think what is, what's more than, what's more than this? How can you go lower? It's like you can't go lower. The Lebanese people are learning to support each other, to help each other, regardless of a government or not. We don't. Only time will tell. Please pray for Lebanon.
So we'll encourage our listeners to continue to pray for Lebanon and the situation. I know the crisis, we think of crisis one after the other, but the crisis in places like Lebanon, it's one crisis on top of the next one, and so it's layered. So if you're keep praying as you hear news about Lebanon, keep praying there for the church and for the Christians for solutions to their problems. So Juliana, thank you again. We encourage you to get on the website. It's SAT7, SAT, number 7, education.org to learn more about SAT7 Academy and SAT7 My School programs that's making such a difference across the Middle East, and especially across the whole Arab world and Arabic speakers around the world as well. So, Juliana, thank you for joining us on this Unconventional Ministry podcast. You've helped us better understand what is the SAT7 brand and how we can be more involved in what you are doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time and for having me. And I trust you will continue praying for all of us here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. In our changing world, there are more ways than ever to do ministry. SAT7 as a broadcast media ministry is changing how ministry is done. Through innovative approaches, collaborative efforts, broadcast satellite television, web streaming, and social media, SAT7 is making a difference. Visit SAT7 online today at SAT7USA.org to learn ways you can be a part of this kingdom work. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please share it with your friends. If you know of an unconventional ministry approach, please introduce us. We'd like to have them on as guests. Thank you again for joining this episode of the Unconventional Ministry Podcast.